This is the Farm Monitor. For over 50 years, your source for agribusiness news and features from around the Southeast and across the country, focusing on one of the nation's top industries, agriculture. The Farm Monitor is produced by one of the largest general farm organizations, the Georgia Farm Bureau. Now here are your hosts, Ray DeLessio and Kenny Bergamy.
All right, welcome to the show. As you can see, no Ray this week. He's enjoying a little rest and relaxation. This program, however, never relaxes. And once again, we've got great information to pass along to you. Straight ahead, July 31st, of course, the deadline of any use of stocks of certain DICAMBA-based products. What about alternative solutions moving forward? We'll have a full report on that. Also on the program, another legislative session is now in the books for Georgia lawmakers, many calling it a successful one for the state's ag industry. John Holcomb highlights the many changes. Plus,
well, everybody, Ranger Net coming up. I'm hanging out inside of what would be a crawl space, and I want you to picture that I'm underneath of a floor, and I'm spending some time this month with an expert on termites, and he's teaching us about what you can do to determine if you've got them and what to do about them if you do. That and so much more starts right now on the Farm Monitor.
with cotton and soybeans now in the ground, the biggest enemy to any grower is pigweed. Combating that problem became even more difficult with the recent ruling against the use of certain dicamba-based products. Damon Jones spoke with one weed specialist who has some advice when spraying this year's crop.
It doesn't matter if you're growing corn, cotton, or even soybeans. Pigweed is a major problem you must constantly be on the lookout for. And the most effective way of controlling this invasive species is through a dicamba program. However, a recent court ruling that bans its use came as a major surprise to many farmers right in the middle of planting season.
And when the courts basically vacated the registrations for XtendiMax, Ingenia, and Fexapan, we were really caught off guard. The courts were not supposed to make a decision on that until the end of July or early August. So when that happened to it, it really caught us off guard. It put us all in a difficult situation, from the family farmer to the extension specialist all the way up to the US EPA.
Fortunately, it shouldn't have a major effect on this year's crop, as most farmers will be allowed to use their existing stock for a certain amount of time.
They're allowing us to use the product that we had in hand on June the 3rd, and we can apply that product through July 31st. So that worked out better than originally we had thought. It's not perfect, but for the most part, most of our growers are able to get most of the product that they need.
As for those who don't have any on their farm, there are other options they can consider.
I'm going to try to push you toward a Liberty-based program because you've already planted your cotton. Now, if you hadn't planted your cotton, we can go either a 2,4-D system or a Liberty-based system, and we still got Tavium, so you still got the dicamba-based system. You just got to make sure you've got availability of the products.
It's a problem growers hope will just be short-term, as the EPA is presently gathering data in order to issue a more comprehensive ruling.
The EPA is currently taking data in from the registrants. They're taking data in from people like me and other members of the Weed Science Society. They're taking data in that's being published, regardless of the publishing format. The EPA is hopefully going to make their decision by the end of October. If they will do that, that will give us time to make good decisions on the farm.
So while the effects might not be felt as much this growing season, the same can't be said about the future if this ruling is upheld. It's the reason Culpeper is strongly urging farmers to be extra cautious and on target when spraying their crops.
We have been a shining star in keeping these products on target in Georgia since they were registered. If we were to have a bad year this year, say we have another month or month and a half of potential applications, if we were to have a bad year this year, that would be devastating to our hope for a 2021 registration. So I'm very optimistic as long as our growers and our applicators do what they need to do, and that's to make better applications than they've ever made before.
Reporting from Tift County, I'm Damon Jones for the Farm Monitor.
Meantime, no one will argue that to date, 2020 has been very interesting and unique, to say the least. So it's only fitting that the 2020 Georgia legislative session was just as interesting, as lawmakers had to take a 3-month break due to the pandemic. Still, as John Holcomb reports, it ended up being a great session for Georgia agriculture.
The second year of the 2-year session finally ended in late June and is one that will definitely go down in the history books. Like the rest of the world, the coronavirus ended up bringing work under the Gold Dome to a screeching halt and caused many problems for legislators and lobbyists trying to get their bills to the governor's desk this year.
This was the end of the second year, and it was definitely a unique one, the first one that we've had to deal with amongst a pandemic, and that really threw a lot of wrenches in the system. We typically will adjourn late March, early April. This year it was June 26th, and that also caused a lot of problems because they ended up taking about a 3-month hiatus during the statewide shutdown, and it caused a lot of issues for legislation and the timing.
One of those issues was the fact that many bills, like the Right to Farm Bill, a bill to protect farmers against frivolous nuisance lawsuits, got set aside to deal with more pressing issues and didn't get final passage.
We took a break, and when we returned with only 10 or 11 legislative days left and a lot of impetus to finish up quickly so that people weren't coming from all over the state into one building. Time was very short, and the political capital that it took to finish that, getting it across the legislative process and across that finish line, was going to be very difficult as they juggled several of the other more timely and very pertinent issues surrounding coronavirus.
Sadly, the entire process of getting the bill signed into law will have to be started all over again. But the good thing is that a lot of the work is already done.
Fortunately, we do have a lot of good work that we've put into this. A lot of other organizations were very supportive of this. Our membership was very vocal, reaching out to their legislators. Their voices were heard, and a lot of that legwork is already done. I think we're in a good spot for next year and have a lot of the support going forward.
Even though House Bill 545 didn't make it, Georgia agriculture ended up having a great year with several ag-related bills passing through both chambers. One of the biggest ones, especially with cattle being in every county in Georgia, is Senate Bill 211, or the meat labeling bill, which doesn't allow non-meat products to be labeled as meat.
It actually originated from concerns from the Farm Bureau Beef Commodity Advisory Committee, from experience with vegetarian alternatives and now the emerging market of cell-based cultured proteins. Wanted to be sure that their hard work and money that they've put into building their brand and safe, nutritious products that are actually from livestock and are actually meat, that won't be infringed on by these other products that could potentially claim to be that alternative product.
To see the full legislative recap, go to gfb.org. Reporting in Fulton County for the Farm Monitor, I'm John Holcomb.
Well, hey everybody, Ranger Nick coming up. If you've got foam in the crawl space of your home and you're wondering whether termites can get into this stuff, I'm hanging out with an expert that's got answers for you on the other side of this.
Hello, I'm Gary Adams, President of the National Cotton Council, and I want to welcome you to this series of videos that the National Cotton Council has put together to address what we believe is a critical issue facing the U.S. cotton industry, and that is the prevention of contaminants in our U.S. cotton bales. Unfortunately, we are seeing an alarming increase in the incidences of contamination in our bales when they arrive at textile mills. Part of that is plastic contaminants, but it's also other contaminants. This industry has worked for decades to build a reputation as a reliable supplier of contamination-free cotton. These recent occurrences of contamination, unfortunately, are jeopardizing that reputation, and it has economic consequences throughout the supply chain. Our textile customers, when they see that contamination, face additional cost with removing it. They're also not as likely to pay the premium for U.S. cotton that we have enjoyed relative to other growths. Those economic signals are transmitted back to the gin and to the grower. Ultimately, the grower sees it in a lower price for his cotton. And we also have to remember that with the PBI system we have in place, there is traceability back to the gin and to the grower. So there is accountability throughout the system. I think that's why it has to be a concerted effort by the entire industry to address this problem. I want to thank you for taking your time to view these videos. We encourage you to use these videos with your employees so that they can understand the best management practices necessary to tackle this very important problem. The Council is making a concerted effort to educate the industry about the problems we face and about the best ways to address these issues. We have these videos. We also have other materials available on our website that is available to the industry, and that is at www.cotton.org. So we certainly want you to make use of the materials that are available on the Council's website. You're also welcome to contact the staff of the National Cotton Council if you have any questions. And again, thank you for taking time to view these videos.
Whether it's a historic barn, an old farmhouse, or even a modern-day dwelling, one thing you never want stopping by for a bite to eat, or even worse, staying for any length of time, are termites. That's why Ranger Nick traveled to Spalding County at a unique training center that helps technicians eradicate those pests.
All right, so before you think, there's old Ranger Nick hanging out at the beach with what looks like a bunch of chimneys behind me. I'm not. I'm actually inside of a state-of-the-art training facility in Griffin, Georgia that spends time training folks related to termite protection. And there's a guy that knows a thing or two about termites and pest control, and that's Dan Suter. Dan, I would shake your hand, but just because of social distancing, we can't. Dan,
Very good.
We're standing in Griffin, Georgia, but we're standing inside of this facility. What is this? Why did you invite me here today?
Hey, Nick. So what you're looking at here is a what's called the Structural Pest Control Training Facility. So it was built in 1998. So go back a little bit. The pest control industry, anybody that works in the pest control industry, there's about 10,000 to 12,000 employees in the state of Georgia. And in most other states, you have comparable numbers of employees. They have to be regulated. They have to be licensed.
Okay.
And to be licensed, they have to undergo continuing education.
Okay.
So what we provide for them here with this training facility is a way for termite control technicians, folks that are going to come out and do termite treatments on people's homes, to learn a little bit about principles of termite management and control. So
interesting.
We bring them to a facility like this about 6 or 8 times a year and show them how to control termites based on the various components of the structure that they're looking at.
And what we're looking at here, I was joking about these seeming like they're little chimneys, but these are pillars in what would be the underside of a house, in the crawl space of a house. So you have to picture the ceiling, the floor over top of me right here.
Correct. So if I was a pest control technician and I was in here, I would have to be, this is where the name crawl space comes from. You're crawling through this structure, and there's a wooden pier on this. There's a wooden pillar on this. So, and it goes from here over to that one over there. So a termite control technician would have to come in here, and they would have to dig a trench around the outside of this thing. And apply some chemical around here, because a common way that termites get up into the structure is either through the inside, the voided area of the pier, or they can build a mud tube from the outside. These are subterranean termites, so they live in the soil, or they could build a termite tunnel, a mud tunnel up into the wood, and that's how they get into the structure. So a termite technician would have to come in here and treat every one of the piers or pillars in the crawl space.
And imagine this for the folks at home. Pretend that we're in a crawl space. The technician, he or she, is on their hands and knees with this equipment. Dan, you were telling me earlier, every 10 feet, 4 gallons of treatment every 10 feet?
That's the standard. That's the standard rate of application for liquid termiticides. Those are the chemicals that we use to control termites, called termiticides. You have to put you have to mix that up at a rate of 4 gallons and apply it at a rate of 4 gallons every 10 feet of wall.
On your hands and knees in there. So what I want to do next, from this type of sand that we're standing in this pillar, some folks at home may have foam on the underside of their house. I want to go there next. Dan, there's a place in this area where you've got some foam. I want to help the folks at home and learn about what you're doing with that. So let's head over there next. Okay, Dr. Sitter, so we've moved locations at the training facility, and we're underneath of this makeshift crawl space, and I'm looking at foam over here near you, and I'm looking at foam over here near me. What's the difference? Why is this?
So that's the way you should do it.
Oh, okay.
And this is the way you should not do it. What we're looking at over here is the way it should not be done. So termites live in the soil.
Yeah.
And they will actually tube. They don't eat, but they'll actually get behind the insulation. They'll actually tube through the insulation.
Okay.
And the problem with that is if they tube through this insulation, they get from the soil and they tube back behind this insulation, they'll get up into the wood completely undetected. They'll get up into the wood joists and headers. They'll get up in that wood and go completely undetected by a pest control company.
Wow. Wow. And they're up there just eating away and chewing away without us even knowing.
That's right. So during your annual inspection, after you've had your home treated, or you maybe have had, you might think that you have termites, you want to get an inspection. Many companies will come in and do a free inspection if you ask them to. When they come into a crawl space to do an inspection, if they run into foam board or foam or any type of insulation on the wall like this, they actually can't see the wood that's covered, and that can create problems. Even if they have even if you have a current contract with the pest control company, and you go and apply rigid foam board insulation, it can nullify your contract.
So that can impact the warranty.
That's right.
So being able to do this, have this be the way to do it so they can see the wood is the best way to go, you're
Correct.
saying. Excellent. Dan, I want to walk us down here, and you told me a little bit earlier this was a porch. That's part of the training facility.
That's right. This is a porch. It's part of the training facility.
Yeah. So what are you showing us here? This is a cutaway what?
So this would be somebody's front door.
Okay.
And during the construction of a home, a lot of times construction companies will put a lot of their junk and trash into a porch, and they'll pour concrete on top of it. And there's soil in the porch.
Yeah.
And through time, the soil that's in here will recede away from the ceiling of the poured concrete.
Okay.
And the problem is, this is where your front door is. This is the wood sill of your front door.
Yeah.
And it's literally 6 or 8 inches away from soil where there are termites, and it's easy for termites to get up into the structure that way.
Gosh, and think about that threshold. Who would think about this if it wasn't for somebody like you and the termite technicians? I want to go last and help the folks at home learn what do we do to prevent termites from getting into our homes. So I want to walk over to a building with you, Dan, and have us send us off today with some words of wisdom for what to do. So let's go there next.
So termites love moisture.
Okay.
They're really soft-bodied insects. They live in the ground because of the moisture.
Okay.
So if whatever you can do to keep moisture away from your structure really helps. Don't ever pile mulch right up next to the structure. So what mulch does is it keeps moisture in the soil.
Yeah.
It's good for your plants, but insects are attracted to that as well.
Okay.
You know, termites, they'll eat some of the mulches, but the real key issue with mulches is the moisture issue. So moisture, the moisture holds your termites closer to the structure.
Okay.
If they're closer to the structure, that's more likely they're going to get into the structure. So,
and even with pine straw? I mean, is it kind of pulling that pine straw back too?
correct.
Okay.
And so another thing about when a termite control specialist comes and does an inspection, you want to make sure that he can see the wall right up next to the structure. So you don't want to pile that mulch right up next to the structure.
Excellent. And if I find an insect at home, you and I were talking earlier, I can actually put it in a sandwich bag and I can mail that or give that to an extension agent for them to identify whether it's a termite or flying ant?
Yeah, if you ever have anything that flies in your home and you think it might be a termite or you just want a quick answer, put it in a little baggie, a couple caps full of rubbing alcohol, and send it off to your county extension agent.
Can you just imagine? I mean, there's the benefit of extension again. Doc, thanks so much for joining us today. I hope y'all enjoyed this as much as I did, learning about these things and what you can do to prevent them. Well, y'all know what to do. When you're online checking out the Farm Monitor Facebook page and seeing what's going on there, hop on over to the Ranger Nick Facebook page and see what I've got going on. And until next time, as I always say, Doc, for the Farm Monitor, I'm Ranger Nick, reminding you that enthusiasm is contagious. So pass it on. Y'all, thanks so much for watching. We'll look forward to seeing you right back here again next month. See ya.
Well, ever seen a bunch of birds flying in a circle? Wonder why they do that? Up next, the amazing things vultures can do. Stay tuned.
Hi, and welcome to another installment of Hey, what do you know? My name is Kathy Church. I'm a programming coordinator with the Wildlife Resources Division, and today's topic is vultures. Now, vultures are very misunderstood animals. Most people around here call them buzzards, but buzzard actually refers to a group of birds called the Buteo group, and that includes hawks like red-tailed hawks and red-shouldered hawks. So a hawk is a buzzard, but a buzzard is just a vulture. And in northeast Georgia, we have two species of vultures. We have the black vulture and the turkey vulture, and they're actually really easy to tell apart. If you see them on the ground, black vulture's got a black head, turkey vulture's got a red head. If you see him flying, it's just as easy, because the black vulture's got a short little tail and he's only got white on the tips of his wings. But a turkey vulture's got a longer tail and he's got white all the way out to the tips of those wings. But most people think that vultures are kind of creepy or gross. And there are some gross things that they do. For example, turkey vultures and black vultures, they don't have feathers on their head. And that's so that when they're eating dead things, they don't get bits all stuck up in there. Yeah. But it's also a great way for them to thermoregulate or control their body temperature. By not having feathers, it helps them to actually cool off from their head. And another way that they can do that is they can take those 6-foot wings and spread them out big and wide, and it may look like they're looming over you, but they're not. They're actually just either warming up or drying their wings or even baking the bacteria off of them. The sun helps to kill any bacteria on their feathers, so it helps them to get clean. But probably the grossest way that they thermoregulate is what we call urohydrosis. It's just a fancy way of saying going potty on your legs, because when it evaporates, it actually helps to cool their body down. But that's not the bodily fluid they're best known for. Vultures are known to regurgitate their food when they're frightened. It helps to distract a predator, but it also helps to make them lighter so that they can take off and fly away. So I know what you're thinking. Why would I want to have this animal anywhere around? Well, imagine what the world would be like if you didn't have scavengers. And this guy is a scavenger. He's cleaning up dead things all over the place. The turkey vulture actually has the largest olfactory system of any bird. That means this guy can actually smell a dead thing from over a mile away. Now, black vultures can't, so black vultures are quite often seen following turkey vultures to food. We also see them flying a lot. These guys are expert gliders. But when they fly, they're often seen flying in a circle, what we call a kettle of vultures. When they fly in that circle, they're actually not doing it for what you think. They're not telling other vultures about dead things. They're actually telling other birds about thermals, warm air that rises up from the ground that allows these guys to glide and save energy. These guys, when we say good gliders, good flyers, they are actually known to fly at 20,000 feet. Pilots have seen them up that high. They are also experts at swooping to avoid other birds. They can swoop at upwards of 60 miles per hour. But the one thing they can't do is they can't talk. They don't have a syrinx, so they can't actually tell other birds about those thermals. They fly in circles to let them know. That's what they do. But if they do find a dead thing, they get down there and they eat absolutely everything except the bones. And that includes bacteria that can be deadly to humans, like botulinum toxin or anthrax. So, hey, what do you know? A buzzard's not a buzzard. He's actually a vulture. He's got some really questionable hygiene issues. He may throw up on you if you scare him, but he gets rid of deadly bacteria and he cleans up your whole entire world. So, hey, who knew? Thanks so much for joining me today. I hope you learned a little bit of something you didn't know, and keep an eye out for more. Hey, what do you know?
Interesting creatures, aren't they? Unfortunately, we are out of time. Take care, everybody. We'll see you next week right here on the Farm Monitor. Stay safe.